Imagine this. You're out minding your own business, just another peaceful day in your routine. Then, out of nowhere, two officers pull up, lights flashing, badges gleaming, and they start questioning you like you're the lead suspect in a major crime. You know your rights, though, and something about their approach doesn't sit right. They press for ID, but you're not backing down because you know you haven't done anything wrong. What happens when those sworn to uphold the law target the wrong person? This is one of those moments where the tables turn in the most unexpected way. Today, we're diving into a real-life First Amendment audit where a simple misunderstanding spirals into a lesson about knowing your rights, staying calm, and standing firm. Stick around because what happens next will have you rethinking everything you thought you knew about accountability. It all started when a man, let's call him Alex, decided to enjoy his afternoon with a quiet stroll through his neighborhood. He wasn't doing anything unusual, just walking, hands in his pockets, soaking in the day. That's when the squad car pulled up, tires crunching against the gravel. The officers stepped out, their expressions a mix of confidence and suspicion. One of them asked Alex for his ID, while the other scanned the area like they were expecting something more. Alex, calm but firm, asked what this was all about. Just routine, one officer said. But Alex knew better. Routine checks don't usually feel this tense. Something about their tone and body language made it clear. They thought they had him cornered. The officers weren't expecting resistance, let alone someone who knew exactly where they stood. As Alex refused to hand over his ID, the situation started to shift in a way no one expected. Alex stood his ground, his voice steady but firm. He asked again, "Am I being detained?" The officers exchanged a quick glance, clearly not expecting someone so calm and knowledgeable. One officer stepped closer, trying to assert control, but Alex didn't flinch. He knew the law. Unless they had reasonable suspicion, he wasn't obligated to provide his ID. Meanwhile, curious bystanders started to gather at a distance, their phones out, recording the interaction. The tension thickened as the officers seemed caught between doubling down or stepping back. One of them radioed for backup, but even that felt more like a bluff to regain authority than an actual need. As the crowd grew, whispers of support began spreading. "He's right," someone said. Another person muttered, "Cops always try this." The officers, now under the watchful eyes of a growing audience, started to realize they had misjudged the situation, but they weren't ready to back down just yet. The situation was at a boiling point. Backup arrived. A third officer, older and seemingly more experienced, stepped out of the car and immediately assessed the scene. He approached Alex, his tone slightly more measured, but still carrying an air of authority. "Sir, we just need to confirm your identity." "This doesn't have to escalate," he said. But Alex wasn't budging. "I've asked twice now. Am I being detained, or am I free to go?" He replied, his voice steady but edged with frustration. The crowd was now fully engaged, their cameras capturing every word. The officers were visibly uneasy. This wasn't playing out the way they'd planned. One of the original officers, clearly irritated, tried to regain control, his voice rising. "If you have nothing to hide, why not just cooperate?" That's when Alex said something that made everyone pause. "This is about accountability, not convenience. And you're on camera, too." The tension in the air was almost tangible as everyone waited to see what would happen next. The older officer narrowed his eyes, clearly weighing his options. The tension was thick, but Alex didn't waver. Then, out of nowhere, a new voice cut through the standoff. A woman stepped forward from the crowd, holding her phone high. "I'm live streaming this," she announced. "We're all watching how this goes down." The officers froze for a moment, realizing that this wasn't just a small crowd anymore. This was a public moment, unfolding in real time. But then, a twist no one saw coming. The woman turned to Alex and said, "Isn't this the second time they've stopped you this week?" Alex nodded, his face tightening. He hadn't mentioned it earlier, but now the pieces were falling into place. This wasn't random. These same officers had approached him days ago with the same demands, claiming he looked suspicious. The crowd murmured in disbelief, and the officers shifted uncomfortably. Now the question wasn't just about Alex's rights. It was about a pattern of targeting that couldn't be ignored. The older officer stepped forward, trying to regain control of the spiraling situation. "We don't have any record of prior interactions," he said defensively. But his words faltered under the weight of the growing crowd's scrutiny. Alex, calm but firm, replied, "Check your logs. I filed a complaint the last time. I even have the incident number." He pulled out his phone, scrolling to find the email with the report attached. The officers hesitated, realizing they were cornered. The crowd was no longer silent. People were questioning, calling out, "Why are they harassing him?" "And this is why we record." The tension broke as the older officer's radio crackled, and a voice on the other end confirmed Alex's story. He was telling the truth. But just as it seemed to settle, a final twist came. Another man from the crowd stepped forward, claiming he'd been stopped by the same officers earlier that week. Suddenly, the focus shifted entirely. This wasn't just about Alex anymore. It was about a troubling pattern. The officers, visibly flustered, retreated to their vehicles, their authority shattered. The crowd cheered as Alex walked away, standing taller than ever, a reminder of how knowledge and courage can turn the tide. As the officers drove away, the energy in the air shifted. The crowd slowly dispersed, but not before several people approached Alex to thank him for standing up for himself and for them. The man who had stepped forward to share his own story exchanged contact information with Alex, saying, "We need to hold them accountable together." It was a small but powerful moment, a reminder of how collective action starts with one person speaking up. Alex walked away, his phone buzzing with notifications from the videos circulating online. While he didn't set out to become the center of attention, he knew this experience could spark a larger conversation about rights and accountability. His calm demeanor and knowledge of the law had turned what could have been a routine overreach into a moment of empowerment. As the day ended, Alex couldn't help but feel a quiet sense of victory, not just for himself, but for everyone watching.